everything's different. Greg and I are in remote studios at home. We may or may not have been exposed to COVID-19, and we're doing our testing. And then we will return if we're negative. If we're not, we'll grind it out, and we'll stay here until we're done. So that's the situation. Now, we had a big ruling while we were away. Bubba and I and Team Rick and Bubba, and not that we have to be, all that in depth in our knowledge of the Constitution, to say over and over again that the church is protected from the government, period. And the Supreme Court, even when I think, Bubba, if I have it right, you can inform us, I think even Cuomo tried to do a take back, and they wouldn't let him. They're like, no, we're going to rule on this because this needs to be ruled on. And we had a big ruling for religious freedom over the break.
Cuomo has locked everything down again, especially hard on the churches. He was having a little square off with some of the Jewish folks there in the city about some of their get-togethers, threatening big-time fines on them. Well, it made its way all the way to the Supreme Court, and of course they ruled against Governor Cuomo 5-4. He is blaming the new conservative majority on the Supreme Court for a decision late Wednesday against the state's COVID-19 restrictions on churches and places of worship. In remarks to reporters on Thursday, Cuomo said he thinks the ruling was really just an opportunity for the court to express its philosophy and politics. He says they were making a statement with the vote. And you know what? I'm hoping they are a statement for the Constitution.
Thank you, Bubba. Hey, Cuomo, no, this is what the Constitution says. This is what it says. You do not have the power to tell a synagogue, a mosque, or a church whether they can meet or not. You do not have the authority to do that. Constitution says they are protected. It is a one-way wall, even though the wall part never even got into the Constitution. The Establishment Clause, all it talks about is we won't have an official Church of England, a government-run religion, and there can be no laws passed of any kind to restrict the expression of religious convictions in this country, period.
Well, the fact that the court had ruled against these type things twice before, I think it was in Nevada and one other state, 5-4. This was back when Ruth Bader Ginsburg was still on the court. Now that seat is flipped to Amy Coney Barrett. It is a conservative majority now, and they certainly showed that they could stick together. Now, Chief Justice Roberts went with the liberals again, which that's a whole nother story. I don't know I don't know if he was just a bad pick to begin with or what his deal was. You have that slow fade, it seems like. When they get there, they all start drifting to the left. But thank goodness for the judges who have been so solid in their beliefs of the Constitution, the original intent, and has ruled on that. Amy Coney Barrett went with the conservatives in this. It was the changed vote that made a difference in this. And again, there's limits and there's common sense what some of these churches ought to be doing, but it's up to them to make that decision, not the federal government. It's very clear. It's an 8th grade civics level. I don't know why this was ever even voted the other way to begin with.
Yeah, because here's the deal. Church services can be available to you, but no one drags you out of the house and makes you go to one. So if the church is meeting and you don't think you should be there, then don't go. But the government cannot tell the church when it's open, when it's not. Now, Gorsuch, did you see some of his quotes, buddy?
Boy,
he laid it down, and he said, I find it very convenient. And he even called it, he said that the secular movement in this country is trying to use this. And what they're saying is somebody cannot go buy wine. I mean, somebody can go buy wine. Somebody can go to the grocery store. They can go to the Home Depot or the Lowe's. I'm paraphrasing.
Yeah, go get lottery tickets.
Yeah, I find it convenient that people with a secular worldview are trying to use this as an opportunity to not just to deny the church the constitutional freedom, but to treat the church differently than they do other parts of society.
Yeah, it's really mind-boggling to me. I mean, like I say, our qualifications are we had civics in 8th grade. But it's just so, I mean, it's written right there. It's so straightforward. I don't know how it ever got to this point. You have to read things into the Constitution that are not there, and their job is to interpret it. And I'm glad right now that we have 5 pretty solid justices that I think in most cases are going to do it that way. I mean, any of them could go off the range for a particular case, but thank goodness they're there to counterbalance what we've had.